Hello, hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? Well, good morning. Okay, wait a minute. We got to do a little bit better than that. Good morning. That's what I'm talking about. I love it. Good morning. So, welcome to day 2 of the Global Black Economic Forum. I am Anicia Williams, Managing Partner, External Relations at DreamBlock, and today we are talking about the future of economic mobility. We often hear a lot of buzzwords a lot in this space, but we're going to get real today. Economic mobility only becomes a reality when training, jobs, money, and business growth all work together in our own neighborhoods. We are at a critical moment. Just this month, July 1, the new Workforce Pell Grant program is in effect, and that opens up federal aid for short-term training programs. This is a game changer for our community. It means shorter, faster pathways to livable wage careers without the multi-year debt burden. So we are not here for quick fixes today. We're here to talk about how we build permanent systems that turn these opportunities into lifelong success. We ready, panelists? All right. So I am very much so thrilled to be joined by these 4 amazing leaders doing just that. I'm going to let Mr. Ken Oliver introduce himself as well. We have Japetha Snow, we have Dr. Jatali Batan, and we have Ms. Shauna Young.
My name is Ken Oliver. I'm the president and CEO of the Justice and Upward Mobility Project, also affectionately known as JUMP, which was founded by Larry Miller, chairman of the Jordan brand and former president of the Portland Trail Blazers.
Good afternoon. My name is Japetha Snow. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the National African American Insurance Association, known as NAIA.
Cheers, I'm Dr. Jatali Bellington. Everyone says Dr. J. And I am the founder of Borderless Prosperity and Brilliant Minds Unite. And we invest in 10 countries around the world, employees, over 500 employees.
And I'm Shauna Young, CEO of Camelback Ventures. We are a venture philanthropy firm, early stage. We give early stage capital, early stage entrepreneurs, typically from communities that are underfunded.
Amazing. Could you guys please give these folks a round of a hand clap? All right, all right. So we're going to kick this off and open it up right now with Shauna. Shauna, you work with a lot of talented founders who often hit a wall when they're trying to scale. What are funders still missing about this talent, and how do we build better pathways to a real livable wage growth?
Absolutely. I think it's important for us to understand that our founders, community-based founders, have lived experience. They understand not just problems they might be solving for, but innovations for our own communities. And so when we think about Camelback Ventures, we give $40,000 to $50,000 of early stage capital, which over 10 years has turned into a $10 million investment into 220 founders. They've turned into $435 million in follow-on funding. So it tells us that if we invest early in our own community, in our own entrepreneurs, that they can make changes that are important. And I would say now more than ever, in this time of disruption, that we have to make sure that we're giving early stage capital to community-based entrepreneurs. We know that less than 1% of venture capital dollars go to Black entrepreneurs, and so we have to change that.
So Ken, the job market often overlooks people with past justice involvement. What's one major misconception that employers have, and what should someone look for in a company that truly values their potential?
Sure. I mean, I think companies underestimate just how dope we are, if I'm just being transparent. We're some of the most talented, gifted people on the planet, and I can share, and our founder can share, that some of the most smartest people that we've ever met are behind prison walls. And so when you think about that, 49% of Black youth between 16 or 25 have an arrest or conviction record. That's half of our youth. 1/3 of all Black men have an arrest or conviction record. When we're talking about economic mobility and economics in the Black community, this is not just a criminal justice problem, it's an economic justice problem. And so I think it's the age-old story of being undervalued. We're undervalued in general in this particular capitalist system, right? But what Larry and I are focused on is making sure that everyone in our community has the opportunity to get the skills necessary to compete, that we focus on entrepreneurship, that we focus on working with companies who do think progressively about inclusive hiring strategies and teach them how to hire our folks, whether they come from prison or whether they have a record or whatever that is. And we also spend a lot of time teaching about the economic and business case value of what it means to hire somebody who happens to have a record, right? Most of the time those records occur when they're youth. And so it's important for us to speak to a national movement of narrative change around what our value proposition is. Our founder did 10 years in prison and rose up to become the chairman of the Jordan brand and the president of an NBA team. He broke every single myth that was out there about black males in general, but about black justice of male. And we believe that everybody has the opportunity to become a Larry Miller, and that's what we work every day to do.
So if I could just pass the ball back to you, how do we break that down for everyday people that, don't have the connections? My brother may have been incarcerated, whomever. How do we break that down to those people to make it real for them? Like, what is economic mobility? What does that look like? And how can they work with your program to be able to do that?
Well, economic mobility for us means livable wage. Like, we reject the notion that we should be working for less than our value. And so we believe in reskilling and upskilling, putting ourselves in position, right? That's the first job that we have to do. And then demanding a seat at the table, right? In corporations all over the country. Larry Miller, our founder, just became chairman, co-chair of the Business Roundtable Second Chance Business Coalition, along with Jamie Dimon, to work with some of the Fortune 100 companies all across the country to be able to help create pathways for folks. So the first thing I would say for all of us who have or know somebody who's been just as impacted is make sure that we do the work necessary to put ourselves in position to compete. Because you can't walk from the prison environment into a $100,000 a year corporate job if you haven't done the things necessary to compete for that job. We don't ask companies to lower the bar for talent, we ask them to lower the barrier, right? And so we have to do our part. Once we do our part, folks can call our organizations, and there's a lot of other organizations out there, like the Second Chance Business Coalition, which is made up of 50 of the top 100 companies in America, to find out where those opportunities exist, and we can help pathway them there.
Japetha, insurance is not always seen as a path to real wealth. So for the women here looking to advance, what is the hidden opportunity in your industry that they need to know about?
Thanks for the question. So insurance is not just a policy you sell. It's an opportunity, and it's one of the last industries where you have the opportunity to advance and build real wealth without a technical degree, venture capitalist, or an abundance of connections. You can go from commission checks as an agent to owning your own insurance agency in a few years, and that's not possible in many industries. Moreover, there is a massive infrastructure in the insurance industry, from agents and insurtech to risk management, and these opportunities have been afforded and built wealth quietly to those who have gotten in. NAIA exists to allow those opportunities to the masses and to black people who have not always known about these opportunities. So making sure there's sponsorship and access, because access is a real problem in our mobility.
So then, let's say if I'm one of the 300,000 black women that has just been laid off in the workplace, and I am looking to see if insurance is going to be a viable option, what if I don't have the money to pay for the certifications? What if I don't have the money to get the licensings? We talk about access. Everybody can have access, but that doesn't mean that you truly have access to it. So does your organization help those that are qualified to do it, that want to do some type of change, but may not have the financial structure to be able to pay for the licenses and things that it takes to actually be in insurance?
Absolutely. Well, one misconception is that every opportunity needs a license. Every opportunity does not need a license. If you would love to visit NAIA.org, that's NAAIA.org, we have a job board with thousands of current opportunities. You can create alerts. They range everything. Insurance touches every aspect of our lives. So there's marketing, there's engineering, actuarials, you name it, and it is there. So there are lots of opportunities, and there are often employers that are looking to grow their talent. So you get in one area, and then there are opportunities to get those licensing and things underwritten as well, so not necessarily out of pocket. So think of insurance more in the big umbrella picture as opposed to our notion of what we've thought of insurance throughout the years.
That's the same thing that I tell folks who, they say, well, I want to go into tech. And they think that the only way that they can go into tech is to work for a tech company. Every industry has some form or fashion of tech where you can actually put those transferable skills there to learn. So it's not just one path. So I really, really like that. Dr. J, many people feel very much so intimidated by investing. And as you know, I don't know why we have this in our community. There is a big push of venture capital, and I need to raise capital, and I need to talk to an investor, right? But what's the biggest barrier that you see from women being investors themselves? And how can we start building wealth today when we leave from Essence on Monday morning?
The first thing I want to say is that our fear of investing, I think, partially comes in the fact that every time we build, they come and they take it back. We build these homes. When we think about Black Wall Street, when we think about Freedmen's Bank, imagine a situation where the first official big Black bank that we had, Freedmen's Bank, we found out was something pulling money from us. And, we had one of our biggest thought leaders, Frederick Douglass, come and tell us, hey, I went and investigated, and your money's basically about to be gone. And the government comes and goes, well, you've all lost your money, but we're going to just shut down this bank. This is a history that America has, right? One of the companies I invested in is called Redemption Bank. It's one of the first Black banks in America that has in-house SBA lending, right? That journey, though, even prior to that investment and them becoming a real bank, was us seeing another person say, we have a Black bank. I won't name the company name. And only for it to find out it wasn't a bank, it was only a fintech platform. And so many people had galvanized and invested in this project only to know that it wasn't. So doing our own research, DYOR, do your own research, is very important. Understanding the terminologies, going to the SEC website. These are all public information that we have, and having the proper structure and contracts. We can cooperatively invest with each other, right? For instance, when I first started as an angel investor, I would only use my money to invest because I was like, I don't want to manage other people's money and do this, because I'm a former investment banker. So I knew what it looked like to manage wealth. I managed $3.8 billion. But if we're going to talk about why we are hesitant, it's because we've continuously seen family members and friends borrow, never return it. We've seen the Freedmen Banks of the world that we were all putting our money in this Black bank, and thousands of Black wealthy people who were our founders and creators, their money was gone overnight. And when you take our money, it's not as easy as just like, oh, here's the FDIC to give you your money back. And even then, they only insure it up to a certain amount, right? And so the good thing about where we are now as a country, as a people, is that we have options. We could diversify into other countries. If we don't like the tax structure, we could go to a different state and figure out the proper legal loopholes to make sure that you're not overly paying. We also have contracts now that we can create amongst each other to protect ourselves. But the best part is we don't need $1,000 or $10,000 or $1 million to start. You literally could start with $5, right? You can literally right now, if you like crypto, not to say to buy it or not, do your homework, but you can literally take $5 and buy a partial share of a stock, a partial share of a crypto. If you're like, you know what, I want something that's going to give me dividends because I don't like selling stocks, you can buy a particular project and have a dividend that's giving you $1 every year or every month, depending what company you're investing in. If you look at investing as simple as this, start with the companies that you pay attention to the most. If there's a supermarket you go to all the time, you're going to notice that supermarket starts to shut down. If there used to be 10 Stop and Shops in your neighborhood, now there's only 2, and you're an investor in that company, maybe it's a REIT, real estate investment trust, look those up. Now, they might be a company that you now have to be like, let me think twice, because they're losing a lot of traction. If you have a phone company that you use all the time, I remember back in the day, I loved the BlackBerry World. That was my favorite phone, because I used to go international, and it worked everywhere. So as an investor, I invested in BlackBerry. But when I noticed that anytime it had an issue, I was not able to get it fixed. And then they started trying to transfer to other phones. And I know that a lot of my friends were complaining. And they're like, oh, I'm going to go over to Apple. I said, well, they're going to probably lose a lot of investors. Maybe it's time to pull my money out. It's really that simple. So my tip to you by Monday, if you're gonna go invest in your first thing, is start with the things that you see or use every day. Look at your lip gloss, your lipstick, the hair balm, your beard balm. Look to see is it publicly traded. If it's only $20 per share, maybe that's where you should start. You know? Also, I want you to think about, do you have the proper structure? Do you understand what you're investing in? Your structure is everything. It's what's gonna make you either pay 33% in taxes, 10 to 12% or less in taxes. So things of that nature are so important, and that's where you start. It's not the big dog. It's start with the little baby steps, and you can start with as little as $5.
So I want to break that down just a little bit. I just want to double click because for some folks that is like pie in the sky. Like you just spoke some Korean and they don't know what you just said. They don't understand any of that. But I'm talking about my sister girl. She is doing products in her kitchen. She's selling on Etsy. She's trying to go to TikTok, and I want to be able to support her. How do I support her? She's not at the point where she's like, I'm raising venture, but she might be doing crowdfunding. So break it down for me, that simple of how I can get in at the small basis of what investing is, because investing looks different to different people, right? And so if they don't understand all of the high things that we do, break it down to them of how I can get involved to start putting my $5 or $10 into my girlfriend who's in the kitchen that's cooking her products, and it's catching on.
So the two things I will say is an A and B. On the side of your girlfriend who's a creator, who's making the product in her kitchen, make sure you have all your ducks in a row. Do you have it incorporated to some degree, LLC, C Corp, S Corp? Do you have your business EIN? Are you structured properly? Have you made sure if there's any approvals, whether it's FDA, et cetera, that you need, it has been completed so that when your friend wants to invest in you, you can understand, A, how much money do you make for your product? What does your bottom line cost? Including, does it take you $10 to make this product? Then that means, what is your markup? Are you selling it for $20, $30 and making sure you're 2 or triple Xing your money? So if you as a creator don't have that information, it's hard for someone to invest in you. And then on the other side of that, we can look at something like you as an investor who's a friend, and you can go, well, do you have a business plan? And if she might have a business plan that says, hey, sis, I have these containers that right now cost me $5, but with an investment of $50,000 or $1,000, maybe I'll be able to buy bulk and lower my cost for those containers down to like $1, right? And so when she as a boss is thinking that way, now you as a friend can go, I have $1,000. Or you can have 10 friends, each put $100 to get you to that point where you can cooperatively invest in this company. But she has to be able to tell you, if you invest $1,000, I'll be able to give you 30% back on your money in 16 months, because now you're allowing me to lower my overhead costs and show you some Etsy receipts showing that, hey, monthly I make this much money. Some of the people that I've helped to make millionaires or multimillionaires, it was by opening my own bank account and showing them how much I made and how I did that process, so that they could be like, I trust you now to give you this much money to invest for me or with me. And so, or to know that you're gonna tell me what company to go into. So half of that battle is transparency on the creative side to show, I know I can make you 30% because I make this percentage every month, and this is my overhead cost. And then you as an investor, making sure you have the proper contracts in place to make sure you're protecting. And sometimes it's just putting a little money in escrow and bleeding it out. Like on a real estate side, when I invest in my friends' real estate projects, I might put the money in escrow, and as certain parts of the project are completed, then that money is released. That way I can know that the job is getting done at a certain speed. I hope that helps.
Yeah. And also, too, YouTube University is still your friend. Still your friend. And also, there is a wonderful organization called Pipeline Angels. And they also do training on angel investing, what that looks like, how you go in with other folks, as she was explaining as well, to actually invest in a company. So those are also options for you as well.
Wait, I'm sorry, one more thing. And if you're angel investing, my favorite thing is the reason I've picked a lot of successful companies, half of the battle is the founder. So if you don't like the founder of the company and they can't pitch you in 30 to 60 seconds or less, it's going to be hard for them to go into the world and pitch. And the second thing is making sure the founder's numbers make sense. If their numbers do not make sense to you, then be careful on how you invest.
Absolutely. So this is a call to action, and I'm all about what can they do when they leave here tomorrow from Essence to be able to put into play. So this is rapid questions from you guys, and I want you to have that in that mind frame of how they can do that right now. So Shauna, we want to leave a call to action. What is one thing that everyone here can do differently starting Monday to support this work?
I think we have to believe the economic mobility starts with ourselves and that we are our first investors. So it's really important for us to not necessarily look around for foundations or corporations to spearhead our initial ideas. We actually have to say, you know what, as we were just talking about, we actually can give $1,000 or $100 or $50 because when we think about long-term investment, we are going to have to create our own investors in our own community. We are not going to be able to go look at the next philanthropy or foundation who's going to give $10 million or $100 million. It's not going to happen. So at Camelback, we're literally working with our founders to say, you're a founder now, you're going to be an investor very soon, a philanthropist very soon. So how do we start shifting your mindset to believe that you are that? And we have to remember ourselves as Black people in particular that we have done this forever. We would send small dollars in envelopes to our community members. We were the beginning of the NAACP. All those things we did ourselves. And we have to take that back and have that mentality on Monday so that we will ensure that our future is in our own hands.
Key thing she just said, founder today, investor tomorrow. Ken, we are seeing a lot of political noise right now, a whole lot of foolery. What is one thing that we must refuse to stop building, regardless of the pushback?
Yeah, I think first, if you're just as impacted or you know someone who's just as impacted, the first thing I would encourage everybody to do is take agency. My agency doesn't belong with this administration. My agency doesn't belong to politics. My agency belongs with me. And oftentimes, we look at some of the structural challenges that exist for us and have existed for us, and we lean on those and we give agency to those. The agency starts with us, number one. If you're a business owner or you're a founder or you're an investor, invest in people. There's this amazing thing that happens. When you pour into people, you get great results. When you push people to the margins, there's consequences to that. There's outgrowths to that, right? And so we're a firm believer in investing in people. And I work every single day, and there's hundreds of other people that are working every single day to make sure that every single person in this country, whether they're at JP Morgan Chase or whether they're at the corner store in the local neighborhood, to make sure that we're presenting folks with opportunity, because that's the pathway to stronger communities, and it's the pathway to safer communities.
Japetha, for leaders and funders in this room, what is one immediate action that they should take right now to turn workforce investment into a real pathway for our community?
Certainly. We've talked a lot about entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship is definitely a path to mobility for many, but it's not for everyone. There is a corporate path for some to success, and so I would say one thing to focus on is stop funding the pipeline programs that stop at the interview. Fund programs that worry about the sponsorship gap. Make sure there is diversity hiring that includes an advancement plan and cultivates an environment where we're not just hiring entry-level people, we are elevating them so we see more people in the C-suite. Those things, that is where you can put your money behind that. Funding those programs that are fully focused. So take a look at not just who's asking for that money, where are they stopping with that money? Yes, they have a good number of hires, that's great, but what's their retention rate? What's their advancement rate? What is their mid-level leadership, and what is their upper level, what is their pipeline for leadership look like?
And for Dr. J, looking ahead at the next era of economic growth, what is one specific thing that Black communities must own and scale to truly control our future?
We need to own our own IPs, own your identity. When we talk about intellectual property, NILs, right now we're watching, even in sports, our young youth are starting to be able to brand and package your name, image, likeness. That's what NIL stands for. But everyone in this room, stop looking at yourself as an individual and look at yourself as a brand. You are the CEO of your own life. That means you're structuring yourself. Just in a real company, you need a CFO, the chief financial officer, you need a chief operating officer, and in your personal lives, we need the finance person. We need the lawyer. We need the person who's gonna tell us, girl, watch yourself. Man, let me tell you, you're going, be careful. You need to brand yourself. You need to have your LLC, whatever that might look like. But you need to be able to protect the brand that you're creating, but create one. And understand that if you don't have a copyright, you don't have a trademark, you're creating something, even if it's your own personal self, and you're setting yourself up failure because somebody can come and pull the rug from underneath you. And we live in a world where so many people on social media are making millions of dollars. But the biggest thing that people don't realize is that a lot of the people have branded themselves. And if you brand yourself without protecting yourself, especially in this AI world that we have right now, you're setting yourself up for failure. So that would be the biggest thing I would tell somebody right now, is making sure that you're protecting your brand and your creative thoughts and your process. Because even if you have a company, and it's a simplicity of, if you want to be able to go to sleep and have your company make money for you while you're sleeping, or God forbid, if you get in a car accident tomorrow and there needs to be someone else to run your business, have you created a blueprint so that somebody else can run it for you and you can still be making money even in a coma, God forbid? We all have to think about the worst case scenario, including if you're not here for your children, and how you can proceed.
Got you. Well, I thank you guys so very much today for being candid, for sure. So a couple of things before we get out of here. One, we're going to stop waiting for a seat at the table that was not designed for you. Let's just stop doing that. Use what you heard today, including these new Pell Grant pathways. Again, it just became public July 1, so please go look into that. And that is for those, if maybe you started going to college and you didn't finish, you can use it. Maybe one of your children or your nephews or your uncles or aunties, they didn't go to school. You can use this grant to be able to get a six-figure job like tomorrow. Well, like 6 to 8 weeks, but still, you're not having to wait to go through a four-year college. And lastly, just start building your own. Like, let's make these opportunities the standard and not the exception. And last but not least, please continue to build the block. Your block is your community. Your block is your sister girlfriends. Your block is your girlfriends that you go on vacation to, that guide you and lead you and lift you up as we are doing all the things inside of our communities. But thank you so very much for having us this morning, and we hope you guys continue to have an excellent, phenomenal Essence Festival.